बदलते दौर के साथ एआई अब हमारी लाइफस्टाइल का एक हिस्सा बनता जा रहा है। एआई की मदद से गलत जानकारी को भी रोका जा सकता है। कैसे? इसी पर शारदा विश्वविद्यालय में एक सेमिनार का आयोजन हुआ, जिसमें जागरण न्यू मीडिया के एग्जीक्यूटिव प्रेसिडेंट और एडिटर इन चीफ राजेश उपाध्याय समेत कई इंडस्ट्री एक्सपर्ट्स भी शामिल हुए।
I think we all know why we are here. We are here to talk about AI, right? And how it's changing the whole game when it comes to fight misinformation especially. Did you know? Almost 86% of internet users, 86%, they have been all tricked by misinformation at some point, right? Means that's almost everyone, and it's a big problem. We need to tackle it head on. So misinformation, whether it's done on purpose or by mistake, it's a real danger. It's a break our trust, create fights, and even can be bad for our health. Just remember what happened during COVID. But here's the thing. The world of information is changing fast. With a new generation AI, everything is different, it's exciting, full of possibilities, but also risky. Just last June, I was in Bosnia, listening to Nobel Prize winner Maria Ressa. She was talking about how digital media is collapsing, like right now. But before that, I was in Dubai, and Sam Altman was live, talking about AI and later AGI, artificial general intelligence. It feels like two different worlds. So where do we go? What future do we want? AI is powerful, no doubt, but let's be honest, it's not perfect. It can be biased, and sometimes it misses those small things that we humans understand. That's why we need fact-checking and verification more than ever. We need that human touch, the critical thinking, to make sure things are accurate and fair. It can be a great help, but it can't be replace us completely. We have to use it responsibly, ethically, to support the truth, not misinformation. We are at crossroads. We can use AI as our partner, or we can get lost and spread even more in misinformation.
So much of change is going on, where we see the technology is playing very, very important role of today. In our time, this kind of technology was not there. A very conventional thing was there. Now the entire thing has changed. So it is very important for our students of this university to learn the technology is playing very, very important role for everyday work which we do it. As AI, now today all presentation which we see, it's all prepared by AI. You just feed some data and automatically the entire presentation comes. A part of this business intelligence BI software, that also if you use it, and the work which we do it earlier in an hour time, that work is now getting done by 5 to 10 minutes. So much of software and AI is playing so much of important role now in 21st century. But on the other hand, we also should see the issues of fake information, whether the information is right or wrong, and how we will address these kind of issues. That's a challenge for the industry nowadays.
AI actually brought a boon when COVID-19 came. You can't probably read the date at the back. It says 25th of January 2020. Okay, we still did not have any name for this virus yet. We were still calling it the Wuhan virus. We did not know that it was a coronavirus, right? But there was an AI algorithm which was basically developed by a company called Blue Dot based in Canada. Kamran Khan is the founder. He's a pediatrician, doctor turned data scientist. And what they did was basically they used AI and predicted 7 days before the CDC alerted the world and 10 days before the WHO alerted the world that a new pandemic is coming. Now this is a boon for health systems because we can actually be proactive right? This is an early warning system. We can tell early that something is coming up, we need to be prepared. Just close this here, right? But then with this also came the bane of AI, right? And what also became apparent was the misinfodemic, right? There was a lot of misinformation. For example, can drinking vinegar prevent COVID-19 or something like that, right? A lot of false news and misinformation also started spreading. And we live in an information age, as we all know, right? And it's very hard to understand what is correct and what is not correct. And that's where fact checking actually comes in.
As the only person standing between you and lunch, I will try my best to stick to time. I know I was on the other side of this not too long ago, and I hated it when people stopped making me to do. Alright, so my name is Swapnil. You heard about the background. I'll summarize it by saying I work in academia. I worked at a bunch of companies on the industry side as an intern and full time, and then I started a non-profit a couple of years ago, which basically the lifeblood of that non-profit is working with students just like yourselves. We continue to work with undergraduates and students that work on technology, on media, and topics related to those to build out systems in practice. I think I've been set up really nicely by my co-panelists here because you heard amazing things about the academic frameworks to use to evaluate misinformation, especially in the pandemic's context, and how you treat social issues with academic frameworks, including a bit of practice. You also heard about the metaphysical role of truth and truth seeking and dealing with this Mahakumbh of information. I'll come here to round us off by focusing on what it takes to deploy AI tools for fact checking on the ground, in practice, what are the challenges that come out from it, and more importantly, why does it matter to each of you here? So when we came in, we were told that there are people from business here, there are people from media here, there are people from communications and background, and I don't recall if it was also journalism, but I think the unifying theme that brings us all here today is we are all frontline workers in the information space, and here's why I think that is the case. I think for people from a business background, your priority is protecting your organization and your revenues, growing your organizations, for which providing information in a safe and secure manner to your customers is a priority. That brings me to communication, which is basically about conveying information in an understandable language to your listeners. Communication leads us, you do that through media, where you put yourself in a role to create that information. And that leads you to the role of journalists, where you want to vet and ensure that the accurate information is conveyed, and if there is a reason to investigate those things, you have the right evidence that you generate to provide to your audience and ensure that they understand the information you're conveying. So today I present this to you with the context that I want to share insights from having worked on some issues as a frontline information worker, and I'll present that through the projects that we've done through this organization, SimPeople. For some background, SimPeople is a community of engineers and researchers committed to improving digital trust. Now, when we say digital trust, we focus on the value chain of misleading information. So we focus on doing research, but we also focused on building products to deploy out there that advance certain sustainable development goals for the United Nations. The background for why we formed this organization a couple of years ago is that, as I think Rajesh sir said in the morning, about 86% of people have been exposed to online misinformation at least once. In fact, about 75%, in this case US adults were surveyed, believed they can identify fake news, and it turns out they could not. This is not surprising. But this is also not new. With all this news coming out, we tend to believe that misinformation is a recent phenomenon. It is not. It's just become popular in recent times because someone communicated it to us in that manner, right? But the historical fact is there has been a historic decline in trust in institutions, in government, and all of these pivotal sort of bastions of truth over the last 20 years. So we try to build AI tools where we are tackling misinformation along its value chain. What the value chain means is we're trying to identify threat actors and networks, so where the source is, where the networks that propagate misinformation. We try to measure their influence and the effects they have on online audiences. And then we try to design systems to mitigate these effects, especially the harms that are caused as a result of misinformation. and I'll talk about particular ventures along each of these and the lessons we learned designing those kinds of systems as takeaways for you as you go out into the world in your respective roles. As information workers, you need to understand these lessons so that you can build better systems that at least don't run into the issues we ran into.
There are different types of fake news: satire, parody, hoax, propaganda. I'm sure everybody knows the meaning. If you don't know, please do ask. Propaganda, that's spread generally during election time. Manipulated content, imposter content. What is imposter content? Falsely using well-known name. Generally people misquote actors, celebrities. So that's imposter content. False context, the claim is something else. Things to keep in mind. Before we move on to the tools, we are just going through some theory and then we'll move on to the practical things. Things to keep in mind. Domain name. Generally, there was recently a link was going viral, Times of India, Lines of India, right? Or some other logo, similar looking logo goes viral. So that's it is important to check the domain name. What is the domain name? The URL, the link, about us section. So you should always visit the about us section, whether it is a satirical, and you should also go through the author byline, who is writing the article, right? How many of you, whenever you get any health related symptom, for example, if you are getting a headache or a stomach ache, how many of you Google your symptoms? Be honest. Even I do sometimes. It's always cancer or tumor, or brain tumor. सिर दर्द हो रहा है, brain tumor. यही आता है ना? Did you ever check the author? किसने लिखा है वो article? Who wrote that article? Nobody checks the author name or the website where you are reading. You just Google your symptom. I'm having headache since 5 days. What is happening to me? And Google says brain tumor. But always go and check who is the author. किसने लिखा है? Who is the author? Where are you reading it? Check the about us section of the website.
So Urvashi covered a lot of ground here, and my name is Devika Mehta and I am the Deputy Editor at Vishwas News, which is the fact-checking and media literacy wing of Jagran New Media. And Jagran New Media is the digital arm of Dainik Jagran. We know what Dainik Jagran is? No? Can't hear any yes. Okay. Okay. So, I'm a lot into fiction and I like to binge watch Netflix during my pastime, and just recently I started a new series, Labria. Has anyone seen that on Netflix? Okay. So it's more about a natural calamity and time travel and a group of people traveling back to 10,000 BC. Now, this group of people, they are all very educated. They are doctors, they are soldiers, they are cops. But whenever they fall into trouble, there's just one guy, Scott. I think he's half Indian or half Asian. And this guy, Scott, is almost high on weed all the time. But he's always able to help these group of people. Why? Because he reads. He is knowledgeable. He's a student. So he does not like to do anything else, but he likes to read and he wants to consume information. But in today's time, when we have an information overload, and then comes the burden of AI-generated misinformation, it becomes difficult to trust. Lines get blurred. सामने क्या दिख रहा है, हमें समझ नहीं आता. What are we seeing? Is it real? Is it not? And when the trust is lost, what else is lost? Anyone? What else is lost? Credibility. Truth is lost. As Patra sir mentioned, that everyone has their own sense of truth. But the truth can be defined by data, evidence, statistics, any research which is behind it.